Hey folks, hope you all are doing well. I'm Karan Bandal from Econosite, your weekly economic wrap from India and around the world. So let's get started with tourism. India now en route to become a tourism force. A rising tide lifts all boats as India's economic growth continues to impress post-pandemic. Its tourism industry is no exception. India is experiencing a tourism boom and is currently the biggest growing outbound destination. While the total number of travelers coming from some other countries is higher, no nation's tourism sector is growing as fast as India's. Let's quantify this phenomenon. By 2024, Indians are expected to spend more than $42 billion a year on outbound travel. A series of bold investments that began roughly a decade back are now bearing fruit. Since 2017, at least 73 airports have been operationalized under India's regional connectivity scheme. Capital expenditure pushed by the government of India has been accelerating, helping India build new infrastructure. The Indian government plans to spend about $11.9 billion by 2025 on constructing and modernizing airports within the country. It's not just the government that is being aggressive. Private airlines are investing as well. India's private airlines are not holding back when it comes to growing their capacity. Some airlines are feeling the consequences of such rapid expansionary moves, with Go First, a low-budget airline, declaring bankruptcy in May. But other private airlines are steaming ahead with their plans. In Feb 2023, Air India purchased 470 new planes, the most ever bought in one order by a single airline. In June 2023, this record was broken by another Indian carrier, Indigo. They ordered 500 new planes. Combined value of these purchases is close to $120 billion. These airlines are increasing frequencies on existing routes and adding several new ones to key destinations in Europe and the US. Effects of this push from the public and the private sector combined are showing. Delhi's Indira Gandhi International Airport cracked the top 10 list of world's busiest international airports for the first time ever in 2022, with 59.5 million passengers passing through its gates that year. And where are all these Indian tourists traveling to? If you look at a place like Europe, you see more of them going to France or Switzerland. When it comes to Southeast Asia, Indians prefer Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia, Vietnam, and Singapore. Indians are now traveling to a more diverse set of destinations and in large numbers. Let's look at some expansion plans in India by key foreign entities. We recently spoke about Cisco's plans to begin manufacturing in India, starting with the manufacturing of rack, tower, and blade servers. The company aims to drive more than $1 billion in combined domestic production and exports in the coming years. Cisco is reported to have partnered with Flex India's manufacturing unit located in a special economic zone in Chennai. Next is US-based Cummins. Most of the automotive business of Cummins in India is via Tata Cummins. In April this year, Cummins signed a definitive agreement with Tata Motors to manufacture a range of low to zero emissions technology products in India. The Cummins Group plans to invest about $1 billion into its India operations and hire 4,000 people over the next decade as the global manufacturer of engines and power generation products braces for the transition from traditional fossil fuel engines to those powered by hydrogen and other green choices. And finally, a global leader in specialty chemicals, Lubrizol, commits more than $150 million across multiple projects to accelerate growth in India. The company has successfully operated in India for about 50 years and is now adding new manufacturing, labs, and R&D sites. The R&D center to be set up in India will be Lubrizol's second global R&D center after North America, which speaks volumes about India's human capabilities. It is expected that these investments will create 4,000 direct and indirect jobs. Let's end on China. Scrapping of zero COVID did lead to a stronger than expected rebound, but now China's economy is showing stronger than expected signs of slowing. In April and May of this year, the economy recovered more slowly than hoped. Figures for retail sales, investment, and property sales all fell short of expectations. Unemployment rate among China's urban youth rose above 20%. Some economists now forecast the economy might not grow at all in the second quarter compared with the first. China's reopening and as a result, economic rebound was expected to lead to a rise in the global oil prices and commodity prices. On the contrary, global oil benchmark fell by more than 10% from its Jan 2023 peak. Steel and copper cheapened and the yuan has weakened, again indicating a weak demand coming from China and thus a weak rebound. Much of this weakness can be traced to China's property market. You can see property sales took off right after the reopening but are again plummeting, currently at 70% of the level they were at in the same period of 2019. Property builders are more keen on completing the existing projects than starting new ones, which is reflected in housing starts. Housing starts are sitting at only about 40% of their 2019 level. This indicates fewer houses being built for the future, thus lower GDP growth in the future. Exports and retail sales performed below expectations but have done relatively well when compared with the property sector. People's Bank of China, that is China's central bank, responded by slashing its policy rate by 10 basis points on June 13th. A negligible reduction, but it is a signal that the government recognizes the problem. China's budget suggests it expected land sales to remain steady in 2023. Instead, revenues have fallen by about 20% so far this year. If this continues, local governments will end up with a shortfall of $140 billion in revenue, putting a further strain on the economic recovery. So, a lot more stimulus and larger rate cuts might be needed if China wishes to meet its 5% growth target for the ongoing fiscal. In summary, China is struggling to regain the growth momentum after a few contentious policy moves such as zero COVID policy, cracking down on the tech sector, and on a highly leveraged property sector. India marches on. Now more global companies are firming up their expansion plans in the country. India's growth is reflecting on its tourism sector also as it becomes the fastest growing outbound destination. I hope you found this week's wrap interesting. I'll speak with you again next week. Until then, take care.